I thought it would be good to talk about. There's been a reaction to a lot of the Saudi stuff from big names in the scene. And so, obviously, what's happened in the past few weeks has been we've had the rise of the esports World Cup. I mean, this is the months, I guess. We've had the rise of the esports World Cup. We've had the stipend money going into all of the esports orgs. We've had them buying out the media. And then we've had them buy up the esports awards themselves. And they're being repurposed, reshipped for all friendlies. And people like me aren't welcome anymore. We get kicked off the Discord unceremoniously after giving years of our lives to promoting and developing the esports awards and sitting on 3-hour-long phone calls to vote on panels. We just get kicked off because Saudi say so now. Right. And so all of that's been going on. And, you know, it kind of does get boring being the mad woman in the attic, essentially. Like, just shouting about this is happening and nobody gives a fuck. And it's just like me and it's fucking Thorin and it's fucking Monty and it's a couple of others. But I want to say this month, the juxtaposition of all of the Riyadh activity combined with the fact it's meant to be Pride Month and it has been the quietest Pride Month in esports history since Pride Month began. I think it's actually kind of interesting that we're finally starting to see what other broadcast talent are going to speak up about it. And so obviously there was Sideshow. He did a great video about sports washing and why it matters and what you can do. It's about 55 minutes long, I believe. It's on his YouTube channel. You should check that out. I haven't heard from Sideshow in a while. I hope he's doing okay. But really, it was a bit thin on the ground in terms of people reacting to it and saying, you know, we're gonna make a stand. Well, the esports awards has kind of been something of a Rubicon because it's I don't want to sound like Ian Miles Chong. The Rubicon has been crossed again. Always crossing Rubicons. But anyway, there's certainly been more commentary now that it's starting to dawn on people. We're kind of in a hermetically sealed Saudi Arabian-controlled environment where, from what stories are in the media, to what events you can work, to what awards you can win for that work, they're all controlled by the same people, which seems unhealthy, right? So, lo and behold, a few people have spoke up about it. Now, I'll just recap a little bit some of the tweets and whatnot, some of the reactions to the esports awards. Obviously, don't always talk about Scoots these days, unfortunately, because we had a falling out over the CSPPA stuff, and kind of just that's a bridge that never got rebuilt, sadly. But Scoots said, that's one way to tank a brand. Scoots, I believe, was I think that's his 2019 Lifetime Achievement Award, which, by the way, definitely deserves to be recognized for his contribution and everything he did. And yeah, he just binned it. I mean, I took my trophies down. You can't see them in the background no more. They're not going to be in the shot anymore. Then we had Intero, the great Rainbow Six commentator. He said he resigned from the board as well. And just so people know how like the esports awards kind of work, how it used to be is that basically there were these panels. What we had to do was there was two panels. There was like the super final arbiters of process, awards descriptions, inductions into the Hall of Fame, that kind of thing. I was on that panel. And then there was the general panel, which was every panelist gets a vote. And there was, dozens of us. And when people were up for awards, if you wanted to speak to the rest of the panelists that would turn up on calls, we could make a case for who we should think and why, and we would use that to basically dial down a shortlist, which would also go out to the public and our voting internally as well. And so, anyway, Intero was like there as one of the Rainbow Six kind of ambassadors, used to be regular on all the calls, got to know Intero quite well. Great guy. And, for him to resign, particularly as well, because, I feel Siege is a little bit underrepresented in esports terms. That's kind of a potent message. But, yeah, he was having none of it, and I'm not really surprised about that at all. Kelsey Moser, obviously known from League of Legends, said it had to be intentional, that it comes out in Pride Month. It literally could have been announced any time leading up to the ceremony. It's wild. And that's something I'd never really thought about or, like, considered. That, are they doing all of this, like, takeover stuff in June specifically for the purposes of kind of like being, yeah, fuck it. We're not going to talk about Pride this month. We're going to talk about all this cool Saudi shit instead. It's kind of interesting that I don't know. Is it a possibility? It maybe could be. I do know fewer people are talking about Pride and Pride causes this month. It just seems to be like, by the way, because someone in the chat said, you care about it too much. I don't think it should be a full month. And it's for me. I think a month's, long time to celebrate anything, frankly. I don't think that's a bigoted or inconsiderate take. Just think a month of anything's, kind of crazy. I can see an argument in America like Black History Month. They should definitely teach more Black History in Black History Month because they don't teach a lot of the history of Africa or any of the civilizations and stuff there. But I think it's good to sort of reflect, Americans don't know a lot of their own history anyway. So I'm all right with that. But, I think Pride Month is probably a bit excessive. I mean, I remember when it was like a weekend. And then it was a week, and then it was a month. There was definitely power creep, gay power creep, So I don't know. But anyway, yeah, listen, I don't love it that much. I just think people should be able to express themselves. If there's a designated space within which to do it, they should be able to do it without fear of reprisals. And more importantly, I don't think corporations should be able to hoover up the fucking pink pound for a month when it's convenient while doing business with regimes that would kill gay people. I just feel that's a bit distasteful. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, it's not that, I love the Pride Month. It's, I don't want terrible despotic regimes that kill gay people to be double dipping and waving rainbow flags. But yeah, I never really considered that could be an option. But, might very well be the case. Sylview from PGL, I think I showed you this on the previous video when we were doing like the live reactions. Sylview obviously was immediately out. Sylview had been part of the, because Sylview's obviously, he used to work with the IESF, I believe. And he's done a lot for esports in Romania. He's the go-to guy for esports in Romania. But he obviously worked with the IESF and, has a real good understanding of international esports. And, he's out as well. It's a lot of expertise to lose. So, yeah, you can see that. He wants to be removed from anything related to it. He wants to be off the panels, the mailing lists, and not associated with such a mockery. Very strong condemnation, which, I would expect nothing different from Sylview. Now, what's also interesting is a lot of people kind of like segued into talking about the esports World Cup as well. This is kind of interesting because remember, we've been told it's life-changing money. You can't say no to the money. People have said to me, we can't say no to this. And I'm kind of wondering, like, why? Because I have repeatedly and consistently. Funnily enough, you still get called out in the community. Like, the dumbest argument I saw off the back of the Four Horsemen podcast we did is, how can you say money over morals when you've took gambling sponsorships? Well, I don't have any moral objection to gambling, obviously. I don't have any issues with it whatsoever. Never have. I don't see the issue. So, I don't know. But we exist in a scene where esports fans say gambling is actually worse than tyrannical regimes imprisoning, persecuting, and executing gay people, which, we've got a long way to go, I'd say. So, Golden Boy put out quite a lengthy statement, and he specifically referenced the Esports World Cup, which I thought was interesting. He says, hey, everyone, I'm going to get straight to the point. I won't be hosting the Esports Awards moving forward. Obviously, Alex has done that a lot. He's one of the faces of the brand, and again, we used to sit on a lot of calls with each other. He was a panelist as well, obviously. Just a lovely guy, a lovely human being. Always had a lot of respect for his work, a lot of respect for his personality. He's very positive. He's a lot more positive than I am. So again, for him to take any kind of strong actions, something's got to be up. He says, I'm going to get straight to the point. I won't be hosting the esports awards moving forward, and I will be resigning from the panel effective immediately. I'm extremely disappointed in the higher-ups at the esports awards for the direction they're taking their business, but it's their choice, and just like this is mine. I've also turned down working any events for the Esports World Cup. These events, which are wholly funded by the Saudi Arabian government, do not align with my personal and professional values, so I'm fine not lending my time and energy to them. Be cool. And there's the little peace symbol. Now, this is kind of interesting because now we're getting to a point where people are saying, listen, I'm not going to be working the Esports World Cup. Now, listen, it gets... Thorin had a good point while this was going around, and he said, here's the thing... Because that's what he says. He said, here's the thing. If you then go and work for an ESL event, it's essentially the same. I don't know. I in my mind, I always kind of made, like, you're still working for the Saudi Arabian state if you go and work for ESL, obviously. But I kind of think the spectacle of the Esports World Cup, what it is, it being in Riyadh, all of the issues around it, it's probably a degree worse. But yeah, I think, obviously, you probably need to be consistent on that, or you are going to find yourself getting some slings and arrows aimed at you for not being consistent. But I will say, it's set off a little bit of a chain reaction in terms of other people are going, yeah, I'm not going to work the Esports World Cup, actually. Now, I've talked to talent behind the scenes, and they've said, you know, people have been really reaching out to us and trying to get us to go, and I don't want to go. I don't want to do it, and I don't think I'm going to do it. And so, yeah, I think you're going to get a few more announcements nearer the time, and there's going to be a few names that are going to be very conspicuous by their absence. It's definitely not as simple as they've made it sound. They are getting all of the teams on board. The teams are weaklings. The teams are moral midgets. They don't give a fuck. They're going to take the money. We've had Team Liquid even record a video, haven't we, saying it's okay for us to take the money because we will always make the decision to be the best esports org in the world first and foremost. That triumphs over every other consideration, even human rights. Their words, not mine. What they said in a video, incredibly. Read the article on the Substack where I absolutely eviscerate them. Anyway, just before I move on to the other people that are publicly coming out, and this is all after, like I said, Golden Boy's kind of got the ball rolling. Just want to point out that this was a reply. Are you selling your vehicle? Are you turning your electric off? Natural gas, throwing away anything plastic you own. All of these are purchased from, in one way or another, by Saudi Arabia crude oil. Or do you only get your crude from countries you align your values with? And so, Golden Boy, I don't have a car, and my home has an electric stove. But also, go kick rocks, kid. Ain't no one got time for your foolishness. Electric is powered by fuel. Sorry, conversations aren't allowed in 2024. Truly awesome. And rightfully, this is an example of what the cool kids call sea lioning. Oh, please, anyone with a brain can see what your intent is. You're like those dudes who are just asking questions. I'm not working an event for the Saudi Arabian government. There is no conversation here, especially one that's being held in bad faith. So like I said, bye-bye, and kick rocks, kid. Adios. And I shouldn't show this bit. It's so mean. It's so mean and fucking spiteful. But I'm going to show it. Sir Scoots took a tweet, and the tweet from the user said, I have to come to terms with the fact I'm 34 years and don't have a singular friend. Maybe I'm too old for the gaming space now. And he said, it's probably not due to your age. Now that, by the way, is a horrible... It's such a horrible thing. That's like vintage Richard Lewis. That is fucking... That is so cruel and nasty. And, like, someone's been really vulnerable there and said, like, I don't have any friends. And it's, like, really sad. And you top rope them like that over a fucking esports argument. Like, nah. That's never going to be me again. That's, like, really, really fucking harsh. I hope that person finds a friend. I really do. That's, like, so... That's such a lonely, painful, horrible thing to read for anyone. So, I don't co-sign this type of behavior. That's like a horrible thing to do with somebody. Then we had Wavepunk is another great member of the esports talent world that I've had the pleasure to work with on a few occasions. He's from Rocket League. He does it all. He can host, he can commentate, he can sing, he can play guitar. He's great. One time in Atlanta, we had a huge, not huge, obviously, but we had an argument about who does the better fried chicken. Is it Texas? Is it Georgia? Great guy. Love him. Really cool. And another panelist on the esports awards who makes a stellar contribution, represents the game right, always there. Just a really cool guy. And he put out quite another lengthy statement as well. Did not expect esports in 2024 to make me grieve like it has, but the hits keep coming. Gave myself a few days to process emotions. It's time to get up and get loud. I'm stepping down from the esports awards panel. I was approached to work Gamers 8 last year as well as the EWC this year, both of which I've turned down and will continue to do so. It is impossible to write a perfect statement, so I'm just going to make a list of the truths I deeply feel that led me to this conclusion. I sincerely love and respect all of our MENA Rocket League family. I'm appalled by the official policies and practices of the Saudi government. I am indignant that this government would use my esports world as a way to try and distract from these horrific acts. I am confused and deeply frustrated that the heads of the esports world are so eagerly being complicit in this propaganda. This is fucking straight fire. Like, this is like, yeah, get him. Fucking go, son. I am enthusiastic for the Middle East to get to experience the joy of esports the way I have, but this direct government involvement irreparably stains the show, turning a wonderful thing into a way to continue to harm. If the US were to use esports as a way to distract from their funding of the Palestinian genocide, I would react the same way. I do not fault any colleague for making a decision different than mine. It is an exceedingly complex world, and we can easily draw different conclusions. I ask the forgiveness of any MENA fans that feel hurt by this choice. There is much I can't control, but I do get to choose what things Wavepunk advocates for. I cannot be a voice that helps hide the oppression of people I love. Happy Pride. That's a great statement. That's the most strong and powerful I think I've seen from any member of the talent pool. And it's like, well, in general, I'd say Rocket League has actually been pretty well repped by their folk. I think if you look at, you know, what happened with Moist as well, the Rocket League team, obviously Critical's Rocket League team, they were one of the few vocal orgs that said, yeah, look, we're just not going to go. I reached out to the players, and I don't know if they've been told, like, not to say anything about it, but they didn't respond, and I really wanted to write a piece about that at the time, and it, you know, they just didn't react. I mean, by the way, obviously, Rocket League can fucking, they can go kick rocks, in my opinion. What a terrible community that is, you know, the fans, but the talent pool is incredible. The game is incredible. They just don't have the fans that they deserve. But they've been one of the more vocal communities. I mean, I would have thought, by the way, the FGC would have been a bit more vocal about this, but they haven't. You know, like, they've been kind of, yeah. I'm still waiting. I want to see if anyone's actually saying anything about Saudi and the FGC, because it was one of the $100 requests. It might have been Zumba, I can't remember, but he wanted to do Saudi Arabian Love FGC edition, and I'm still waiting to hear from some of the FGC luminaries. With that said, we can segue to our next. Sajam, a former colleague, obviously worked with him at E-League. He referred specifically to Wavepunk's statement and said, I haven't seen a statement about the Esports World Cup that I resonate with more on many levels. I've also seen many people asking who in the FGC is against this. I was asked to work Gamers 8 last year and asked again to work the EWC and its qualifiers, and I declined both. Instead, I'll continue to support grassroots events and spaces in our community and work towards creating more cool stuff for the rest of us to enjoy. One of the many FGC idiots that I have blocked on Twitter asked Sajam, would you do the same enough to work with an organisation, country group that supports Israel, or is this just about working with Muslims? Yeah, you've got Sajam there, notorious bigot, fucking Sajam, working in the FGC, bigot, of course, doesn't like Muslims, that's what's really going on there, right? Of course, complete nonsense, and he had the fucking Uno card and fucking wrecked him. And I think I know what he's referring to, but I won't say just in case. He said, it's not about Muslims, and as an example, I was offered a massive contract recently by the US government and declined. Which, again, yeah. You know, it's weird. we're told you can't be consistent on these things. But it turns out you can be consistent on these things. Mad, I know. Here I am, been saying it all this time. It turns out you really can. They're consistent now. You can be consistent. In addition to that, over at League of Legends, there was a video uploaded by Dash. Obviously, for those that don't know, I mean, it's still crazy to me that kind of like Dash is on the periphery of the League of Legends ecosystem. Like, such a great guy and so fucking talented, and you can't tell me that League of Legends is better off without him in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, listen, he's took a number of very principled stands, and it's cost him. There's been a very appreciable cost to his work opportunities and his money. And what he said here was, in turning, he was on stream reacting to the LCS changes video, and he said, like, I got offered the bag to go do it, and I turned it down. And you have to think about what that says for a person that's literally already cut himself out of a large, substantial amount of work because he wants to focus on other things, but he also wants to be paid a fucking, you know, fair amount. So here we are.
To prevent player fatigue,
yeah, the one in Saudi. I got invited to host it. I got invited to host it. What's the Esports World Cup? It's basically a Saudi sports washing attempt in the esports world. They're like trying to create like a Esports World Cup / Olympics event, and it's happening in Saudi Arabia rather. It's very, very. I didn't go for it, Mehraj. I turned it down. It was a lot of money. Money that I should have taken, given my position in life right now, but morally couldn't bring myself to do, so I did turn it down. It was not easy. It was not easy. Well, it was easy in the sense that it is my morals, but it was tough knowing how much money I was turning down. Because they even kept coming back to me as going like, how much?
Pros time.
So I want you to fucking try and process that, right? He is obviously someone who, he said that I need the money. I mean, we've heard a lot of this. I need the money. I got a mortgage to pay, right? We've got mortgage to pay, kids to feed, and one of the ways sports washing works, one of the mechanisms it gets you, one of the ways Saudi gets you, is they know we all need money, and we know when the economy's in the fucking toilet, it's really hard. We also know if you've got codependents, this is a fucking terrifying business to work in. Why? It's all freelance. It's all on spec. You don't get told, like, put it this way, you don't get told 6 months in advance what events you're working. You don't know. It's as simple as that. You might get a phone call 3-4 weeks out of an event, and they'll say to you, can you work this event? And then you might turn around and go, oh, well, actually, I had plans, but now I got to drop the plans. It ruins fucking relationships. It means you're always got to be on standby in case you get the call. And you have to say yes, because you only get to say no so many times before no one asks ever again. And that's the reality all broadcast talent are in, all the freelance broadcast talent that aren't signed to contracts. And so when you already walk away from that and somebody comes to you and go, listen, it's going to be huge if you come and host this event in Saudi. And listen, we'll even pay you an extra 50% of your day rate. That's going to tempt anybody. It's hard to fucking say no to money. I get it. Like, I don't want people to think I don't like money. I fucking do like money. I like that somehow I've managed to go from working jobs I hate, right, miserable, soul-crushing cubicle sales jobs, to I've turned my procrastination, my hobby, into a way to live and live comfortably. I consider that an achievement. But money can never be the be-all and end-all, and I've always had it in my mind, if I ever had to revert back to zero, if I ever had to get a job on a building site again, or a miserable office job, whatever it would be, I know I could do it. I came from that. If I had to go back to that, it wouldn't be a shock to the system. I'm not one of these people who never had a real job. I'm not one of these people that doesn't know what it's like to get up at 5 a.m. on a freezing cold fucking morning and carry bricks up and down a fucking scaffolding for 10 fucking hours. I've done it. So once you know you've got that in you, like, it doesn't terrify you. So I can do that. But it's still hard to say no to the cash. I mean, guys, I'll be totally transparent, right? Like, I still offer my rates at reasonable 2016 levels. I never flexed on people or put my day rate up. You know, so a day rate for me will be about $1,500 a day, right? And that is very modest. It's sometimes $1,200 if people are really struggling, or I'm going to be doing like 30 days in a row of hosting on a big event, right? I want you to think about that. I want you to think about how that isn't even elite level esports on-air talent money, right? But I want you to think about the reality of, like, let's go to the lowest. $1,200 a day, and I might work 14 days in a row. That is fucking wild. That is wild money. That will always be wild money to me. That is crazy. And like I say, casters get way more. And if you're in a bigger esport, you get way more. And I think I'm good at what I do, and I think I bring a lot of value, but I'm not passing that fucking... My ego don't need more money, and I don't really need more money. I'm fine. I'm comfortable. That's already crazy for me. And so, you know, if I was back working like 2016 levels, where I was doing an event almost every weekend, right? And I'm coming away from every event 4 working days, you know, pulling in like fucking $5,000. And then on top of that, streaming. And on top of that, YouTube. And on top of that, I had like at various points 60K, 80K, 100K journalism jobs. It's, you know, this is fucking ridiculous. So I like money. I want to make it abundantly clear. I like it, but there'll never come a point in my life where I'm going to go, oh, that's a lot. That's too much money to say no to. And it means somebody gets hurt, or I have to portray like a sacred moral value. Like, I feel very acutely who I am. And what's really shocked me is how many people don't feel that way. Like, the one thing I've had to look around the industry is I've looked at some of my friends, I looked at some of my colleagues, I've looked at people I admired, I looked at people behind the camera, in front of the camera, the tournament operators. I've had to know that they don't feel like, they're not like me. They don't feel like that. They don't feel their values are like these immutable core things that, like, you would be willing to die to fucking hold on to. Like, you cannot give them up. It's like so core to who you are. I realize now, like, 90% of people don't feel that way, and actually I'm a weirdo. I'm a weirdo. I'm sick, because most people just go, oh, I'll just take the money. It's fucking crazy. I didn't know it was like that. I never thought it would be like that. So when I see people like this literally saying, my financial situation is precarious and I really need this money, but I said no anyway, that's how you know you're dealing with a real one. Because, you know, he's got bills to pay, right? He's got a mortgage. He's got a roof he needs to keep over his head. He's the same as any of us. But he said there, in his own words, it was hard and easy at the same time. Because it's easy on a moral level, it's just hard when not only are you looking at the money, but they're offering you even more and more. And I hate the way that the Saudi negotiations have kind of do this on the reg now. If you say no the first time, they just assume that you're negotiating. I've heard this from a lot of talent. They don't assume you would ever really say no. They don't get it. They don't like it. They're offended. You go, no, I just don't want to work your event. I can't. I have a moral objection to it, so I'm not going to. And they go, well, what do you mean? Why are you saying no? And you, well, I just don't want to do it. What? Okay, well, we'll pay you more. No, it really isn't about the money. It's always about the money. No, it really isn't. And this is like, again, I know some people who, they started out as no's and got moved to yeses. And that worked, you know? It's crazy. But I've got to say, I was a little bit heartened to see all this, to know, you know, elite level talent like Dash, like, one of the greatest hosts we've ever had in esports, is also taking this stand, Golden Boy, you know, Wave Punk, Say Jam. There's all these people that I respect and respect the work of, who have big reach, that are now publicly coming out and saying, no, actually, we turned these events down. And why that's important is that's going to get people asking the question, why are they turning the event down? Why? And once esports fans who maybe aren't the most informed about geopolitical happenings, once they start asking the why, that's when things are going to start really moving forward. Because for the average fan, it varies from community to community. CS in general has been pretty good. Dota don't care. Dota are just like, yeah, if it's Saudi or our competitive scene dies. And that's just how they feel about it. Rocket League, pretty good. FGC, nah, we're okay with it for some reason, even though that goes against everything you ever thought you knew about the FGC. But in general, fans are kind of a bit dismissive. I would say if I looked at esports as a totality, they're dismissive. They don't know what sports washing is. They don't know the purposes. They don't know the human rights record of Saudi Arabia. They don't understand that actually there are no levels of abstraction, that just because they call it the Esports World Cup Foundation, it doesn't mean that the royal family has no influence over it and everything. And so the more and more people that make this explicitly known, that we're not going to accept the opportunity to work that event, the easier it gets for everyone else, and the more the fans are going to start looking into their own things. I'm giving them a lot of credit here. It might not be accurate, but I have to believe that there is a percentage of the fan base that would go out and do some light reading to find out why people are saying no. And yeah, you're right in the chat, Good Warrior. It is ridiculous. I see, oh, Nouns are doing an NFT. We should be protesting this. And it's like, that's not worse. That's objectively not worse. So yeah. But anyway, it warmed my heart a little bit to sort of see other people speaking out about it. And now that I realise, yeah, we are kind of getting there.